So we will go ahead and jump on in. So first, I just want to, Kai, if we can go to the next slide. We just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you to those of you who have come for the live recording of this. And thank you to the potentially hundreds of folks who will watch this after. We've found that this is watched both live and asynchronously. So thank you to all of our community supporters. I also want to put a shout out to, I know we have already highlighted the fact that we have an awesome matching grant this year, and we've already gotten donations from many of you and the broader community. So thank you all for that as well. Just to give you an overview of what this time is going to look like for the launch event. We go to the next slide. So tonight we'll start with just a little welcome, grounding in what the Mira Fellowship is and kind of how it came to be. Then we'll give you some updates. We have a video of some fun updates of where all of our current and, as we call them, forever fellows are. Because as we've found over the years, it does not take just a few moments or a year to make world change. It takes years. And so we've been supporting people over years. Then we'll kind of have a quick celebration of our 2023 fellows because they have finished their base camp year. They're getting ready to launch out. And then we will meet our new cohort and hear a bit about them. And then finally, we'll have breakout discussion rooms at the end. So if you are hearing things throughout the night that you are excited to talk more about, hear more about, please jump into one of those discussion rooms and talk with the fellow directly. We want to be sure that, especially for those of you who are here live, you get to actually get a chance to talk to anyone who you're interested in. And along that, if you have comments for the fellows, please feel free to throw them in the chat at any time. We do end up copying the chat and sharing it with any fellows when there's comments for them. So thank you for that. And without further ado, I'm actually going to pass it to John, to my husband John, to talk a little bit about kind of where the Mira Fellowship came from. But before I hand it to him, at the Mira Fellowship, we have a little bit of a tradition of sharing what we see as some of each other's superpowers, just so you can get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of what it is like to be on the Mira team. And I feel so fortunate to get to work with John in so many different ways. But essentially, I feel like one of his amazing superpowers is his ability to kind of take the larger view and see what needs to happen before anyone else sees it. And he has countless times, sometimes as his wife, I don't want to listen immediately, but he has insight on things and sees things and for how something could be done more effectively in a way that is very unique and amazing. And I will pass it to John.
Oh, thank you, Co. And again, from me, thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate it. So the Mira Fellowship is named after Co and I's first daughter, Mira Ely. Mira was only alive for a short time. As you can see in this picture, this is her here. But she had a profound impact on us and the world around her. As you might expect in times of great loss like we experienced with Mira, we were shattered. We were looking for meaning, looking for ways to make sense of what had happened, and we came up with two reflections that I'd like to share with you. First is act now. We only have today. So the world-changing ideas that many of you here today have, we realize that now is the time to act on those. And then the second and very important for us today thing that we noticed is with a great community and great support, you can navigate anything. And so in that spirit, we started the Mira Fellowship. to give Mira the chance to have the impact on the greater world that we felt so immediately from her and those around her did. And so now, on the day after what would have been her 6th birthday, it fills my heart to see all of the impact that Mira is having through our community of Mira Fellows, and to see it grow by this new cohort, and see even more impact that Mira can have on the world. So with that, I would like to send it back to Co, and of course share with you a couple of her superpowers. Co has empathy beyond anything I can imagine. Her ability to see someone and understand where they are coming from and what they need in a moment's time is beyond me. And at times being able to have empathy for her husband, myself, who can be grumpy sometimes. I appreciate that. And then in addition to that, her ability to gather community to her is unparalleled and completely foreign to me. And the number of times that she comes home and has built our community as a family even larger is staggering. So I thank her for that, and I give you Co-Berry.
Thank you. So kind of to build on the inspiration we got from Mira was to launch the Mira Fellowship. Essentially we took those key insights that John shared about of life is now. If you have an idea, if you have something, do it now. You don't know what kind of time you have, and it's time to make the change. And the immense power of community. We can do really, really hard things when we have people around us who support us. So the Mira Fellowship is designed to create that community and that sense of urgency for people who are ready to take the leap. And I will pass it now to Sarah, who is our amazing director of operations, who we have said it many times, but Sarah's ability to take something abstract and turn it into something real and actionable and something that will actually happen is truly amazing to me. We have many times joked that the Mira Fellowship would probably just be a bunch of Post-its on the wall if it weren't for Sarah and her ability to make things happen. So I give you the wonderful, amazing Sarah.
Thanks, Co. And I just get to tell you guys a little bit more about kind of what the Mira Fellowship is and how it works. So each year we accept an exceptional small cohort of mid-career professionals who have an idea they want to bring into this world. And we really purposely and intentionally select a cohort across disciplines and different types of thinkers. And what we have found is that getting different brains and different kind of ways of thinking about the world and attacking big problems in the same room, who are all invested in making this world a better place and deeply invested in their own projects and those of their cohorts, adds a kind of magic and different type of thinking that you don't get when you're a mid-career professional just talking to all of the other experts in your own field. It takes you out of the jargon and gives a fresh perspective to the problem solving. And through the course of the fellowship, we take these small cohorts and we support them through 3 big buckets of curriculum. We start them off with a section on framing and reframing and alternative perspectives. And then we shift to prototyping and community building. And then finally, our third arc is storytelling, because you can have the best idea, but if you can't get it out into the world in a joinable way that people understand, it's not gonna grow. And throughout the course of the fellowship, we support the fellows through a bunch of different methods. We do one-on-one coaching with them. We have regular cohort calls so they get to check in with their fellow fellows. We do deep dive summits that dig into those different pieces of the curriculum. and we support them with a small research fund. So that's just a quick overview of the fellowship, and we're really excited for you to hear from both our 2023 fellows who are just finishing their fellowship and our 2024 fellows who are just kicking off their fellowship this morning. I almost said this evening. It is this evening for some of you. And with that, I'm very excited to introduce my colleague Kai Berry, who is our Director of Story. And Kai has many superpowers. The one that came to mind for me today is Kai has a natural curiosity that I don't see in many people. Kai knows more about more things than most people I know, and his curiosity leads him to dig not only in breadth but into depth into subjects, and his ability to then understand these things and apply them to the world and to stories is really truly amazing. So I pass it to Kai.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks a lot. That's very kind. And thank you everyone else for being here today. It's exciting to see so many people and so many people supporting this important stuff. I want to focus today on sort of our growing community. I think we're sort of at a point where it's starting to get out into the world and more people are helping more people, and you start to see that sort of multiplying perspective happening. But to remind us, like, the Mira Fellowship started as just an idea. You know, we thought, oh, we hope that there, you know, maybe there's some mid-career people out there who are doers and want to get something done, and they have big ideas for change, and all they need is just a little nudge and a little support, and those things can start to move out into the world. And to our delight, this was actually true. And there are a lot of people out there. This fellowship is like the most searched for fellowship on ProFellow, which is a big clearinghouse for fellowships. And there are lots and lots of people who want to roll up their sleeves and sort of build this future. And that's a very exciting thing for us to find out. And it's exciting to start to see it build. We have fellows from all over the world. We have fellows creating change in everything from industrial materials to children's confidence to biodiverse investing to community belonging to better and well-being. And I think the important part of this event and the important part of us all coming together is to start to see how this community fits together and who we all are to each other and what it looks like as it starts to sort of move out into the world. So today we'll be introducing you to our exciting 5th cohort. But first, I want to share a little video we made that sort of gives you a sense of just brief community updates from some of our fellows and some of the things that have happened this past year. Building the future is hard and lonely work. To succeed, one needs the support of a community. That's why we created the Mira Fellowship. And we couldn't be more happy with how this community is beginning to grow. The fellowship helps accomplished mid-career professionals with a big idea for change, reframe their issue, test their solutions, and tell a joinable story so their idea can go out and change the world.
The Mira Fellowship is a supportive community of like-minded change makers, of like-minded peers who are the biggest champions of your work outside of your family and your mom.
A group of people who saw and believed in me, who saw and believed in my idea.
A trust in yourself and like a little bit of like cheerleader, like a cheerleader.
The Mira Fellowship means progress for me.
It's a bit of a safe place to come and to try out something new that probably wouldn't have come into existence without the support from the Mira Fellowship.
It's a rudder of really great resource and really humongously just heartfelt, amazing people.
It's nice to feel so connected with people from all over the world, solving all different kinds of problems.
It was a space for me where I first really started believing in the power of what I could create. And it's really hard to put into words how much that's meant to me.
I am not alone. I am not the only crazy in the room. So just being around a community that supports me and that I can also support, I think definitely I can just go at night and sleep better because I know that we are in this together.
I think it's just the beginning. I really can see that in another 10 years, the Mira community is going to be a grand thing for the world.
We
take the waste that is produced by one industry or one municipality that would normally just get dumped into a landfill, and we match that with the raw material needs of another industry. As soon as we proved it out to them, we immediately got a flurry of emails from this Fortune 500 company within the next 24 to 48 hours, listing out several different types of waste, because all of a sudden they were hooked. They understood that this could be done, and they wanted to see what other ways they could actually turn the cost of disposal into new revenue streams. We've got many, many generators that are very excited about joining on with Enzo. And so right now what we're looking to do is build out our team so that we can have multiple accounts going on at the same time and make progress a lot faster.
The last 9 months have been really exciting. Like I said, I've got a book almost finished and I've got over 50 beta readers lined up for it. People are really excited to read it and give me feedback.
It is a program for kids between the ages of 9 and 12 and their families and their communities to help them prepare with the skills and dispositions to have a meaningful and healthy relationship with their devices. We got 250 people in our survey, like right off the bat. Just boom, like we put it out there and it was like, whoo.
We are starting to have some members from other states, California, Virginia, Georgia, Florida, and also other countries, Mexico, Colombia, Guatemala.
We are now preparing for a series of 4 parent seminars for this next year, where we'll be able to mentor the parents as well as the players.
I think right now it feels like it's on the cusp of something big. We're being able to support people in over 20 countries, which was quite huge. And probably the most exciting milestone was getting a chance to partner with a global financial planning provider named North Star, so allowing each individual to have their own advisor to speak with, which often is really inaccessible. So I'm very excited to see how this continues to grow.
GeoTara is a data science enterprise software that works with satellite imagery to make better decisions for water management. So the central part of GeoTara is a technology that I developed that is able to better extract signals from data. So today, most people don't realize that satellites can see individual human heads from space and multiple times a day, and humanity is not still ready to make use of this data for their everyday lives. My team has grown from a 1-person team in the beginning of last year, when I started the Mira Fellowship, to now 3 full-timers with 10 interns. I'm looking forward to building a good team that includes equity partners, the early founding team members and mentors.
We did these tries across the country, and we were able to actually profile this work at a national conference. We were able to go to DC multiple times and talk about this work and get people really excited about the potential for community problem solving in this way in the last year. So it has been a whirlwind of a year.
Right now, the work is kind of moving on its own. The book and the toolkit are out there, and I get messages back from people telling me about how they gathered their community and tried new ways of working together. So in that way, the work is making its way across the globe, which is really exciting.
Probably getting funding, like a funding grant, and a fiscal sponsor as well for my project. That was really exciting. It made it seem really real, and it turns out funding's not the biggest barrier to me doing what I want to do. I think that was really great learning.
I have created this collaborative, and we are doing work that matters in a way and in a process that feels values aligned. And while there's always something next, there's also a really important piece in taking a breath and living into what I wanted that to feel like, and that it feels like it now. That's exciting. I'm doing the thing that I wanted to go do.
Tiny Monkey Stage makes public speaking fun for kids. We do this by helping communities organize fun open mic events where kids share original stories. If a child regularly speaks in front of an audience and shares original story, not only is the child becoming more confident, but they're also developing emotional intelligence. We've piloted Tiny Monkey Stage in a small cohort. We've been able to templatize every part of our program experience. We are very close to testing and piloting this in cohorts around the world. but every single child that we started with in January has stuck around till September, which I think is a really, really good indicator that our program works. So that is one. And the second is we started posting videos of the kids online. And in like 2-3 months, we went from 500 people following us to 30,000 almost now. And one of the videos got seen by 6 million people. So we started getting messages from all over the world saying, hey, I'm from Qatar. I'd love to be a part of Tiny Monkey Stage. I'm from South Africa. Is there something like this in Tiny Monkey Stage? I'm from Australia. Do you do something online? So we know that the problem we're solving is acute and global, and the solution that we're offering seems to work, and evidently so.
Our community is more than just our fellows. It includes each of you who supports the fellowship. Some have offered wise guidance in moments of crisis. Some have graciously connected a fellow to their network, and others have donated their time and money to support these difficult journeys. Whatever your support, none of this would be happening without you. Thank you, all of you, for helping build a brighter future.
All right. So I always love watching that. It's exciting to see how we continue to grow. And just as want to throw out there too, we've said it before in our some of our communications, but we do have this amazing matching grant that until tomorrow is 3 multiplying whatever you donate by 3, which means your donations can make a big difference. And as of now, the Mira Fellowship is 100%, or maybe not quite 100%, but primarily supported by individual donors. So donors like you make this work possible in the world. So thank you for that. And now we're going to shift to celebrating our 2023 cohort. This cohort has put so much time and energy into making their dreams a reality this year. And we just want to take a moment to celebrate them. So they are each going to share with you just kind of one of their moments as a Mira Fellow that meant a lot to them, and a couple of asks of the community. You can learn more about their projects, their individual projects, by going online to our website to get more details of the background there. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sudarshan, who will introduce you to our first fellow.
Thank you. And I'm super excited to introduce Tanya and her superpowers. Like you were seeing her right now, for majority of the last year, I saw her online and I thought, oh, Tanya, this is such an incredible storyteller and so incredibly earnest and kind. But then I met her in person and then I realized she's even kinder and more earnest and even more beautiful a storyteller in person. So that's Tanya, and I'm very, very lucky to know her through this fellowship.
Thanks, Sudarshan. Yeah, that's super kind. It was such a pleasure meeting everybody in person. So I'm honored to be the first 2023 fellow to talk about my Mira moment. And so my Mira moment was around speaking at an international conference. And this was really early on in the fellowship. So my idea was really still quite young. And it was an amazing opportunity, but I felt like quite nervous accepting it. But I clearly remember talking to Ko about it, and she was like, just go for it. Like, what is the worst that could possibly happen? And so we talked through like what the worst could be. And she was basically like no one's going to ask you questions. And then what do you do? And so we kind of talked through it, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And so of course that's not what happened. Like, the worst didn't happen. People were really interested and people asked lots of questions. And so for me, it was really about like, just take that leap, like just take the opportunities, just go for it. It doesn't matter if it's perfect or if it's not, just take the leap. And so while it was really both nerve-wracking for me to do it, it was also a rush to be up on stage and like talking about a new idea, like an idea that was still quite like personal to me. And so it was both, nerve-wracking and quite a rush. So I really enjoyed that. But I also know that there was no way that I could have ever attempted to do that without the Mira team and the support of my cohort. So I really just wanted to say thank you to the whole Mira team and all the supporters for an opportunity to have a year like the one that we've just had. And in terms of my next steps, I'm still really like kind of diving into the analysis of this and looking for case studies or examples or other organizations of groups or people that are kind of engaging with diversity in a different way and really bringing voices to the table in a different way. So if people know of similar work, if there's links that you can send me to or any introductions, that would be super appreciated. But now I would like to finish and I would like to introduce Solomon, whose superpowers are many, and kind of like Sudarshan said, it was super great to meet him in person. But the superpower that I think I most appreciate is that he is the most well-read person that I know. Everything from like ancient proverbs to current books to academic papers. He weaves that knowledge together so well and comes up with insights and quotes on the most amazing topics and makes linkages that I never thought were possible. So I really, really appreciate all the conversations we've had and kind of the insight and the knowledge that you've brought to that. So thanks, Solomon.
Thank you so much, Tanya. That's a tall order to go right after you. So I introduced my my company earlier, so I won't say much. But in the video, I said there were 10 part-timers. Now we have 32. So that's grown since like last month or something. So my Mira moment was actually sponsored by Mira Fellowship. I was doing a cross-country road trip that took me to various little cities of the US. As I was trying to track down the work of a very important American scientist that studied water and things related to climate. So this person died in the 1940s, and all of his work was buried and lost. And in one of those little towns in the middle of nowhere, I bumped into a little special archive collection in a small, tiny college. This was in the city of Albion, where I found 40 books, 40 research papers that scientists had never seen before. So I took that collection, I digitized it, and I shared it with all the scientists of the world. And instantly, they all started saying, "I want to give you $5,000. Please do more," and so on. So really, what Mira Fellowship has enabled in that one little road trip has really rocked the world of science. So people from Italy, from Greece, from the US, National Academy scientists, some of the top scientists of the world who study climate, have all been so excited about what we've found in this project. And I write more about that. I call it the pilgrimage, which you can find in tinyurl.com/Robert Horton. So my ask for the community is, when I joined the Mira Fellowship, I came to California, right? So I'm originally from India. I came to California, and one of the things I wanted to learn was the various aspects of California related to the movie industry that has made such a huge impact in the world, and also the world of entrepreneurship. On the entrepreneurship side, I've made some progress, but on the animation side, I'm still looking to find somebody who's a skilled animator or a motion graphics expert who has done thousands of iterations of one little 10-second scene in some of these movies. And that's really what people in Disney do, like how Walt Disney created stop motion animation and really gave birth to that industry. So if you have friends who work in the art industry or anything like that in the California area, I would really appreciate an opportunity to speak with them so I can shadow their work and watch, the craftspersons at like really doing magic. Yeah, so those are my asks. Read the pilgrimage and the story and share it wide with people who care about climate and water. And yeah, I would really appreciate any thoughts or comments you have in my email in the bottom. With that, should I introduce the next?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Aide. So I spent a year with Aide in this fellowship and got a chance to meet with her in person in California a month or so ago. And Aide is such a delight, and to the best of my knowledge, she's one of the most well-planned and disciplined person. And as Tanya introduced me as the most well-read person, I think Aida is the most well-read person in this room, for sure, from what I know. So we were walking in a corridor, having some conversations over breakfast, and she shared with me like 5 books that she read in the last month. So I'm so impressed with Aida, and her superpower is seeking a simple life and creating great communities for the world. So Aida, for you.
Thank you so much, Sol, and thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. Well, my year in Mira Fellowship,
I wanted to start sharing that I have been driving the growth of a Supervive Comunidad. It's a virtual community which started as a pilot in 2022. And this is an app where Hispanics can access culturally relevant wellness education and also build social capital to have a community to lean on. We know and we heard in the video that the power of community is crucial. And in our case, it's crucial for achieving health and wellness goals. Right now, we have 590 members, 83% of them from the United States, 17% outside the country. And working on this growth, I have had many Mira moments that I would like to call aha Mira moments. And one that I wanted to share with you is regarding the use of prototypes. I used to be afraid of creating prototypes. I'm a perfectionist. So I wanted everything to be perfect from the start. So I was always very, hesitating about let's prototype or let's pilot this. However, at Mira, I learned that I am creating prototypes all the time. So I have been comfortable prototyping, testing what works and what is not working, receiving feedback, and implementing new, I would say, like idea variations, right? I mean, it's the same idea, but I need to change this or that. And this is one of the most powerful tools that I'm taking from this year. I really wanted to thank all my fellows and the Mira team for giving me, I would say, like the confidence and also courage to make mistakes and learn from those moments and to keep trying with because I am sure that I am learning and that lessons will always be part of my journey. Regarding my ask, it's a very specific ask. We have been growing Supervive Comunidad thanks to our collaborations with community partners. In other words, other nonprofits serving Hispanics communities. But right now we are in need of a more aligned strategy for systemic change. And we are looking for introductions to leaders in healthcare, immigration, workforce systems, working with or for Hispanic communities. And just to give you some examples, it could be hospitals, community clinics, insurance companies, organizations serving immigrants, or corporations like hotels, restaurants, constructions that we know that Hispanic workforce is present. We want to focus our strategy for systemic change through the stakeholder collaboration. So we want to keep growing. We are expecting in 2024 at least 1,000 members in the community. And we want to achieve this not only through referrals from individual members that they can join with freemium or premium membership, but we also want these stakeholders in the systems to invest in delivering health and well-being education in an accessible and culturally relevant manner. So thank you so much. My email is there, and I would love to have the guidance and help from you. And I have to introduce my next friend and fellow, which again, she has a lot of superpowers. But I want to talk about Melanie's superpower around her ability to see greatness in the little things. I have seen how she contemplates. And Melanie, she can see potential in ordinary things. You have a great gift, Melanie, for transforming ordinary things into extraordinary ones. And thank you so much for that.
I think it's a gift that many of people in the Mira community share. I appreciate that, Ide, and lovely to hear all the stories today. So I'm Melanie, and my project this year has been investigating the ways that we hold each other through transformative times and experiences, and what are the muscles of that. And my Mira hypothesis in this kind of research and experimentation has been that we don't learn it in the design studio or boardrooms that I spend a lot of my time in, but we learn it from the everyday transitions we all go through and the people and places where this happens. Like, so think, your chaplain at your spiritual institution, or the midwife at your birth, or even a middle school teacher holding people through puberty. So I went looking kind of for these extraordinary superpowers in ordinary transitions, which my Mira moment is how I ended up here at camp. Doesn't look like much now, but I'll share. I could write a book on this day in particular. But I ended up here 15 hours after a phone call. I had picked in July that the theme I was going to learn about was summer camp and counselors, and had many research conversations with friends, with practitioners who had taken some inspiration in their craft from the joy of summer camp. And one of my first conversations was with Sarah Kurtz, who I had gone to camp with, actually at Albion, that Saul mentioned. And she was the youngest camp director of a camp in Michigan, and now she was at U of M Center for Positive Organizations, applying those skills to kind of more grown-up spaces. And we talked about the superpowers of learning how to be a welcomer from summer camp and accelerating relationships. And she said, you have to talk to Laura. Well, I don't know if you've ever tried to get a summer camp executive director on the phone in the middle of July, but it's very hard. And she had created Camp Stomping Ground after a road trip of visiting 200 camps. And so this was like a really special place to learn from. So 3 weeks later, I finally got on the phone with her the last Saturday in July. We have this amazing conversation about how she thinks the world can also learn from summer camp about creating new spaces. We geek out all day. And I'm like, well, I'm leaving Monday. And she's like, well, that's interesting, because tomorrow is one of my favorite Sundays of the summer and my favorite session. Can you be there? And I said, give me 2 hours. And by the end of those 2 hours, we had a rental car, we had audio equipment, and we drove 4 hours to visit and do an immersion and investigation of the magic of Camp Stomping Ground. And I learned how this empty space became a magical pop-up community like this in just the course of a day, and a dozen interviews and anthropological studies. And also the way that people shift their energy when you ask them what you can learn from them about these design experiences when you see different parts of the world come into those spaces. So I'm continuing these investigations. I'll close with some quick takeaways. There's another fun connection, but we can skip through that, Kai, and I'll because we found out that one person was a cousin who later went to another workshop I did. It was very exciting. So Mira moment reminders are plant seeds and conversations. Sometimes things move slow and then quickly, and then give the universe a chance to conspire together. And so my ask is I'm doing more of these and now starting to bring practitioners into learning from these spaces. And I would love your recommendations of who might be interested in these investigations. If they're an organizational leader, design leader, experienced designer who wants to go on some inspiration field trips about their practice to join. I'll be doing a couple in New York City in 2024, so you can drop your name in there if you're interested. And then I also included my Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter. I'll be making some announcements on there, so feel free to follow me. That's that. And I have the dear pleasure of introducing Sudarshan, who you got to hear earlier, and you'll soon see his radiant energy. Oh, there's a smile, and superpower, storytelling superpowers. And I want to also say that what was so special is witnessing his deep, deep belief, like to the core of who he is in his mission. And I think in the people, he has this ability to believe with a kind of durable sense of hope and optimism that I think is a hard quality to put your finger on in this type of work. And Sudarshan has it. And I'm so looking forward to how that creates ripples in the world. Sudarshan, take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Melanie. Let me just take a moment to talk how much I've enjoyed being a part of the Mira Fellowship for the last 1 year. And the one thing that sticks out to me is just how much of care goes into every aspect of this fellowship. And I'm so glad that 45 of us here are a part of that care network as such. I'll come back to this in just a bit. As you might have heard in the video, and as you can see on the screen, I run Tiny Monkey Stage, which is this community to make public speaking fun for kids. But public speaking is just a tool that we use to develop more fundamental skills. Now, this came from my personal story. I grew up in a small town in India, moved to a bigger city, couldn't really speak well, had a lot of insecurities, and my teachers helped me overcome that. And as I became more confident, I realized that affected every part of my life. So being confident is not just about speaking well on stage, it affects every single thing you do. And what a fundamental skill for young kids to grow up with. So how do we help kids develop these skills? So Tiny Monkey Stage helps communities organize fun open mic events in their local spaces every weekend. Kids come share original stories from their lives, and we make the entire process fun. Now, what do the kids talk about? The kids talk about what they see and what they feel. So Anandita, 7 years of age, once shared about how she saw a rainbow on the ground because there was a puddle and there was water and there was some oil in it, and she saw a rainbow there. And sometimes kids talk about how they feel. For example, another child once shared how when her brother was born, she cried because she wanted a sister, but then she said how she fell in love with her brother and she was the first person to make him smile and teach him a few words and so on. So as the kids start talking about what they see, they start seeing beauty in everyday life. And as they start talking about what they feel, they start becoming more aware and more articulate of their emotions, which eventually develops emotional intelligence. Over the last year, I've refined the program structure, designed the curriculum. So every time a child comes and speaks, there's a curriculum that helps them come up with these stories. Sometimes they'll sit with their parents and ask the parents, Mama, Papa, tell me a story from your childhood. And they'll come and share that. Sometimes they'll interview a stranger in which they understand how to talk to somebody to make them feel comfortable and how to get the best story out of them as well. Now, if a child's doing this every single week and speaking in front of an audience every weekend, they're bound to become more confident. They're bound to become more okay with who they are. And I think this is something that every child in the world should grow up with. I spoke about care, and as I see kids speaking and the care that everyone around in our community has for them, I'm reminded of how, in some ways, this is the mirror of what's happening with me in Mira Fellowship. So it's difficult to talk about one one shining Mira moment because it's been a constellation of sorts in different spaces. But one that comes to my mind right now is when I did come to California. It was my first time, and afterwards, after the summit, Kai, Sarah, and I, we were walking along the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was the first time that I thought, oh, Kai and Sarah actually believe in this as much as I do. And just a little bit of context, I've been speaking to both of them every single Thursday since January. When they said how often do you want coaching, I said, how often can you provide coaching? How can you talk every single Thursday? And that's what we've done since January. And when I met them in person, I realized, oh, they actually believe this just as much as I do. And that kind of care, that kind of involvement from them into a project that's very dear to me is something that's incredible. It's something that's really, really unique. So this can be lost online, right? Because it's just a Zoom room, and I'm sure there's 100 things that are pulling you in different directions. But I wish that all of you could also understand the beauty that we are all a part of something so beautiful that is designed with so much of care. And I know many of you felt this in different times in different spaces. I wish I could convey just how much this means to me. So that was my Mira moment. My ask is simple. If you can go to tinymonkeystage.com, there's two things there. There's one, which is a weekly newsletter, which I write about what we are learning from kids, what we learn about kids and how they grow up and our journey. And the second is this global storytelling play space, which will be virtual, but you could have kids from all parts of the world getting together and learning from and with each other. And hopefully some of the care that I've experienced in Mira Fellowship is something that I can transfer in that space as well. So if you know any child who might be interested, please let them know. Thank you so much for having me here. And with that, I'll transfer it to someone whose care for what the community could be and what the world could be is what started all of this in the first place. So giving it back to Ko to take us forward. Thank you so much for the care.
Thank you so much, Sudarshan, and thank you to all of the 2023 cohort. It has been such a pleasure to get to work with you all this year. And as we've learned, we're excited to continue to support you all as you go forward, because these ideas are really changing the world. Without further ado, we are going to introduce you to our new cohort. We are so excited about the 2024 cohort. This is an extremely diverse, passionate group of folks. And I will start off by passing it to Apekshita, who is addressing climate change related heat issues.
Thank you, Ko. I am extremely honored to be a Mira Fellow in 2024, and I'm here to talk about my idea, which is to create knowledge, awareness, and action around the impact of extreme heat. This is extremely important to me because, as we all know, extreme heat events are going to become severe and more frequent because of climate change, and it's important to act now to secure our future. And in doing so, we may be able to build a world where we look out for one another and come together to fight societal inequalities and injustices. One initiative that I'm super excited to take this year is to build a website which will be a repository of data, information, training, as well as action. This website would be a one-stop place to understand and act against the challenges posed by extreme heat. I'm looking for a lot of help, but I think to begin with, one is to connect with organizations that you know of that may be working on heat, and two, individuals who could help me with data and programming for web scraping and creating interactive visualizations. So if you know people who can help me, please send them my way. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Apekshita. And now I will pass it to Jack from Live Oaks Camp, who is creating lifelong connections across socioeconomic boundaries.
Thanks, Co. My name is Jack, and I'm just kind of giddy to be a 2024 Mira Fellow. 10 years ago, I founded Live Oak Camp, which was a first of its kind summer sleepaway camp available only to great kids from New Orleans, Louisiana. We have a summer camp in Mississippi. And I launched Live Oak alongside this team of incredible educators because we thought that the classic American summer camp model was an obvious but totally unutilized way to build a diverse community of young people from our city and thereby build a network of future leaders through the friendship and growth and connection that's found at summer camp. 10 years later, we have 400 campers from 100 schools, but we're far more than just a camp. We built this year-round program for our kids. We support them through life as they continue coming back for summer after summer, but also through year-round mentoring and internships, college advising, leadership development programming all year round. So I want to be part of creating a world where more kids in more communities get the experience that we've sort of put our finger on with the magic that's found at Live Oak, no matter where they live, where a diverse group of young people come together for shared experiences and rituals and traditions and build community that will connect them in ways that they simply wouldn't have otherwise. I think this is critical because everywhere we look in our world, it seems we're more divided, and great kids from different backgrounds, kids who could go on to become leaders and teammates and upstanding citizens. At least in New Orleans, they often have no exposure to one another across lines of difference. So this year as a Mira Fellow, I'm looking for a team of colleagues who will push me hard in the assumptions that I have about why Live Oak has worked for a decade, and will challenge me to figure out sort of at a fundamental level what makes Live Oak so special. Is it that it's summer camp? Or is it something more elemental about community and connection for young people? And I want to find out how we can share the best of what we do with individuals who want to start camps perhaps, but who may have other methods, not just camp, in mind for connecting kids in contexts that are very different than ours. With the support of Mira and our cohort and thought partnership that comes with it, I believe we will be positioned to share what we've learned over the last decade with a broader audience and feel more impact for more kids across the globe as a result. Thanks, Co.
Thank you, Jack. And next we'll hear from Dart, who will tell us about Work for Humans.
Yeah, I'm also just super honored and excited to be a Mira Fellow. So this is the challenge. The mental models that underlie modern employment practices are rooted in a great wrong, which is thinking of humans as things to be used. And I want to create a world in which every workplace is an engine for designing and delivering work that makes people who work there feel whole and alive. And there's so much potential that's being wasted. Humans spend 8 trillion with a T hours each year working. And that so much of it makes us feel dull and dead is a tragedy. So I'm spending this year with Mira developing management tools with supporting instructional materials that can be rolled out and delivered, and then growing a partner ecosystem for coaching and distribution of those materials. So what I'm looking for a lot of things from this community, and of course one of them is just simply the friendship of other aspirational leaders. As we've mentioned earlier, this can be lonely work, and just being with others who are thinking equally aspirationally is great. But there's some practical support as well. 3 things. One is introductions to business nonfiction agents or publishers. The second is an introduction to a potential sponsor for my podcast, which is a big distribution channel for me. So I can take it from the top 50 podcasts in management to the top 10. And then the third thing, I really value advice from someone who has set up a certification and franchise business model, because that's what I'm going to be rolling out globally this year.
Thank you so much, Dart. And next we will hear from Han Yen, who will share about resources for activist journalists.
Hi, everyone. My name is Han Yan. I've worked in media and the nonprofit sector in Asia for around 20 years now, and have been very lucky to have worked with a lot of amazing journalists during this time. Unfortunately, I've also witnessed firsthand how journalists are persecuted every day for their work to expose injustice. Despite these incredible risks, many of them are determined to continue their work. And the biggest obstacle they often face is more mundane than many of us would expect: how they can financially sustain themselves. I've seen so many passionate and talented people leave their vocations, or are considering to leave, not because they're afraid of persecution, but simply because they're no longer able to sustain themselves and their families. I want to create a world where journalists who operate in difficult environments can continue to do their work freely and sustainably. In the coming year, I will be looking into challenges journalists face around financial sustainability, some of the existing technological innovation that can be applied to their situation, and propose a solution that will hopefully improve their situation. I'm looking to connect with tech companies who might be willing to support projects related to freedom of expression, such as by offering their technology to journalists. So if you know anyone like that, please connect me with them. I will be very grateful for your help. Thank you so much.
Finally, I will introduce you to Heidi, who will talk about SmartJ.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so very much, Mira, for selecting me. I'm so happy to be part of this team and this community. My name is Heidi Weiskell, and I'm a marine ecologist, but I have spent the last 12 or 15 years working in courtrooms, working with lawyers around the world. And in my experiences, I've realized, like sort of sitting in the expert witness chair and in court, I realized that there's this part of the judicial system that is maybe could use some help. There's a gap in the way that things are done, and really it's the moment after trial has happened and all of the expert witnesses have given their statements, and they're in this. The judge is in the position of making the decision, his or her decision, and in that moment, there's often this sort of period where they realize, like, wait, I still have technical questions. I don't actually really understand everything that was explained, and it's not possible that in that point to kind of get, they may have suspicions about whether or not the expert witnesses were biased. And so the idea is that my institute, which is SmartJ, or scientists making available real-time training for judges, would be able to step in and offer whatever the justice would need at that time. So it could be just like a live Google person, right? Like someone to sort of sit with them and they could say like, I don't, tell me why exactly carbon dioxide removal schemes are controversial in the ocean, sort of, is it this expert witness said this thing, but where does that fit in the great context of this research? And so the scientist and the expert from SmartJ would be able to sort of sit with them and give them an unbiased understanding of that particular technical area. So really this vision that I have is that as a scientist working in the public interest, that I could sort of help strengthen environmental jurisprudence by bringing that scientific expertise without bias to judges around the world. And so my ask for all of you is, if you know justices, if you know judges working in any legal system, so common law, civil law, any country around the world would be very useful in trying to figure out sort of where there might be hesitancy from judges about asking for that kind of help, where they've had experience thinking, oh my gosh, if I had this information, it would have been really valuable. All of that would be extremely useful to me. And I'm going to spend this first part of my Mira Fellowship year really interviewing as many judges and lawyers as well, but really primarily judges to get a sense of how to build this out and how to make it an institute that would be a real resource for justices, right? And that part of the judicial process. So yes, I hope to see a jurisprudence and a judicial system that's stronger as a result, and where communities and environments are protected better. And we have confidence in our judicial system. So thank you so much. And thanks again to the Mira community.
Awesome. Thank you, Heidi. So thank you. And thank you to all of you. I always love listening to each of these folks talk about what they're working on and seeing the true variety. We are creating, as a community, creating a pretty powerful, amazing future from all different kinds of perspectives. So as our theme around this is really around the community, we just want to throw this quote up for you all to think about as we leave today. An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. And I feel like this group here is a great example of people who are doing this work on a daily basis. So the last thing, we are going to shift now to breakout room time. Folks who would like to talk to one of these fellows, I will open the breakout rooms. They're in groups of 2 because sometimes it's fun to hear multiple conversations or talk to multiple people. If you are in a room and you want to talk to somebody individually, there will be additional breakout rooms and you can choose to move to another breakout room. It is set up for people to be able to move as easily as they'd like, and we can help folks get to breakout rooms if they would like. So I think, so I'll open breakout rooms. People feel free to pop into your breakout room. And feel free to ask for help if you have any trouble with the process of shifting from the main room to the breakout room. But just in closing, thank you all for being here today, and thank you for being a part of this community. We couldn't do this work without you.